So now it's time for bag number 3, which is going to be differentials. I hope as you're going through your build that you are keeping track of stuff on a blank setup sheet. That's very essential that you know what's where, especially things that you can't see visibly and verify easily, like diff fluids. For example, I've been doing this for a while on all of my diffs. I'll mark front and rear using a silver Sharpie, and that just seems to work really well. It seems to last. Now, one of the things that I'm upgrading on here is I am putting in all 3 differentials. I'm putting plastic gears. This saves an awful lot of weight, and it's rotating mass, which is very high impact as far as acceleration and deceleration goes. So definitely worth the price of admission when you make this change. In fact, I'll show you what we're talking about here as far as how much of a difference this is going to make. Okay, 4 small, 2 large. That's 1 differential. And that's 12.81 grams. And there it is. I was looking for my scissors. So 13 grams, more or less, a little less, versus 2.65 grams. Now, that's huge, especially when you multiply that across 3. So, in fact, let's go ahead and just check that out. Okay, 12.81 grams minus 2.58 grams times 3 is 5.7. That's wrong. That can't be right. Okay, 12.81 grams minus 2.58 equals 10.23. So multiply that by 3 and we get 30.7 grams, 30.69. Huge difference. So almost 31 grams in rotating mass. And some people might say, oh, strength is an issue. It actually, I don't think it is. If you look at some of the builds by Spencer Rivkin's build, he's running 500,000 center diff fluid, which is what I'm planning to run in the center diff, and he's running plastic gears, and he's not busting up his differentials. So I will put my faith in that. Now I'm going to save all these in case I do have an episode at the track and I need to replace them suddenly. I'll make sure that I've got some gears laying around. Now, in addition to your build sheet, if you are planning to race, or if you just want to have a reliable setup, you should have a parts box. And as you can see, I've already got an extra set of arms, and I've taken the reamers to both of these to make sure that they all have good rotation at the pivot points. I've got a set of front steering knuckles. This is a easily broken item in a crash. Likewise, these can get broken, especially the fronts. I've got extra shock seals. I've got extra differential gaskets and O-rings, so I can rebuild all the essential items at the track if needed. I wonder if they make a lightened version of this. These may actually be the lightened ones because they've got the little cutaways here. But anyway, those are actually pretty light. Probably the heaviest thing is those metal gears, because the cases are plastic and the gears themselves are very light. The pinion gears, that is. The ring gear, excuse me. Okay, now I need my black grease. You don't need a lot on this little shim, but I would at least put a little bit because it's going to take a while for the diff fluid to make its way down and into this area. Okay, and now comes the always fun part, which is getting these little pins into these out drives. And that is where a good set of tweezers comes in handy, or a needle nose pliers. Now, first you want to identify the hole, and then you want to line it up with one of these slots here. And that actually went in quite easily. It's always nice when it goes like that. Now this is my rear, so my rear is going to be 10K. Getting some diff fluid behind that gear is always a good idea, because the gear itself has some voided space, and that will just become air bubbles later if you don't pre-fill it. So if you look at the little diagram, we need one small washer behind each one of these gears on these pins, and that's going to form a cross of 4 gears, which will look like this when it's done. I'm just prepping this side in advance. Better to have it ready. Is it possible there's a left and a right here? I don't think so. Is it possible I've got more than one shim? Nope. Sometimes they can stick together. That is always a possibility. I do not know why I am having such a hard time with this. No way. So, I have lost one of these little pins that go in the gear. It is hard to get them in with the ring gear. What you have to do is compress the O-ring, and a good way to do that is to kind of stand it up and press down with one hand like so while you try to get the pin in from the side. But you got to be careful when grabbing it with the needle nose because if you squeeze too hard or in a bad position, it can snap and flick it up into the air, and it has gotten to somewhere that I will probably never find it again. So anyway, I ordered some new pins. They'll be here in a couple of days, and I can finish off the diffs. In the meantime, I'm just going to move forward with the build. But, you know, good lesson learned. There are things you're going to want to have no matter what. And, I mean, especially if you are seriously going to try to race at a even locally competitive level, you need certain things in your kit, in your parts box, so that when you're at the track, you can do certain changes, like changing diff fluid is a biggie, which means you're going to be rebuilding diffs, which means you're going to be taking stuff apart and cleaning it and putting it back together again. And let's see, I think I paid $4.99 for a half a dozen pins. And I probably paid twice that much in shipping. So if you can order that stuff at the time you purchase your kit, where, you know, most places you spend over $100, shipping is free, that kind of stuff, bundle those parts together ahead of time. You know, get your kit, get a couple of front end arms, get a couple of front end steering blocks, you know, get some like I did with the shock O-rings, the X-rings, the differential seals and gaskets, and diff pins. Getting those things up front, having them, in a box, ready to go when you hit the track the first time, is going to make your life easier. And even if, like happened to me, you're going through your build and you lose one of these little easily lost parts, you got it. So things learned. Okay, I'm through with the grease as far as this one goes. Now it's time to, oh, by the way, I also picked up an extra pair of these. They had another item. It was $6.99, and you got one pair of these and two more of the pins. And I figured, I'm already getting a half dozen pins for $4.99. Get an extra pair of these to have on hand in case one of them gets bent up or something like that. You never know. So now what I'm going to do for starters is just put a little blob of diff fluid right on top of each of these where the hole is. And then work that diff fluid onto the arm, and then have some at the outer edge for the washer, and that'll make the washer stick because this stuff is very sticky. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because initial wear is something you want to avoid, and having diff fluid in here on the inside of these gears where they roll on this this little arm here, or this pin, is a very good thing, because otherwise it would take time for that fluid to make its way there. If you didn't put it there naturally, it would take a while for it to get in there. And that's something you want to do so that you don't have any initial, like I said, initial wear, is that all this stuff starts spinning up and this bar here is dry, and so is the inside of this gear. You're not going to do a lot of damage, but you could wear a little bit, and why do that? Why not just lubricate it in advance? I do that on every diff I build. Also helps hold stuff together because, again, those little washers are easily lost. They'll slide right off here. Now this becomes a little harder as you go, because if you're using thicker and thicker fluids, like right now I'm only using this 10K stuff for the rear. When I get up to 30 for the front one, it's a lot thicker, it's a lot harder to get into the small places. I like to use a tool. I'll hold down the little X and then I'll use one finger down below, or I'll rest this on something and then rotate the top part, and that makes the gears interact. And as you can see, there's much less fluid visible because all the fluid got sucked in by the gears and pushed down. And that's what we're trying to do, is fill all the voids with fluid so that we actually know what our fluid level is. And let's see, I'll rotate it again, and a lot of that fluid is going to go away again. Now let's see what they recommend as far as the diff fluid level. Okay, so they want us to fill the diff so that it is about halfway up the gear face, over top of these the crossbars. So I need to add a little more. What I'm doing now is I'm kind of getting some fluid behind the gears. It's just getting a little out. So I think that's about where I want it. That is one buttery smooth differential. Gotta love Associated. Okay. Well, I can't do the front one. I can start putting it together. A little bit. I can get the one pin in. You really don't have to worry too much about losing this pin because it's inside the cup, so you're not going to lose it, or pretty low probability. Well, I will leave that aside. I can always do the center diff when I get to that point. Okay, on to bag 4. I just had a good idea. If the center diff has the same size pin, I can leave the center diff for later because that just mounts in the middle, whereas I'll be able to build both of the transmissions, front and rear. Let me take a look. Yes. Excellent. Okay, bag number 10 is all sealed up again. Now I can finish the diff. Those are for later. Okay, now I need to be very careful not to lose this one again. No way. I don't believe it. I just saw it leap into the air. And where'd it go? Oops, camera wasn't running. Yes, I finally got that pin in. Oh, that's great. Nice difference. Front end is going to pull real well.